Soul blueprints, astrology charts, human design. I love it all. I am always fascinated by the information that comes up when I have one of these sessions done. I think as we journey through life, many of us reach these points of introspection where we're not just asking who we are, but we are like wondering why we are the way we are.
Your journey to the divine is an intimate exploration of self, where you are both the seeker and the source of enlightenment. I, Jessica Paschke, invite you to break free from the ordinary, to reforge your spiritual path with courage, curiosity, and audacity. Unleash the power of your spiritual connection, stepping into a purpose-driven life free of have-tos and shoulds. Join me on this profound exploration of rediscovery, where you'll not only redefine your own spiritual practice, but also inspire a collective awakening. Welcome to Reclaiming Our Spirit.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Reclaiming Our Spirit. I'm your host, Jessica, and it's so wonderful to have you tuning in today. We are going to dive into deeper understanding of ourselves through what I like to call blueprints, charts, soul's blueprint, astrology, human design. I don't know. There's so many programs out there that do this. So anything that charts you or tell you how you are, the way you are, that's what we're looking at today, okay? It's a broad topic, but it's actually something that kind of came up for me during a life between lives regression eons ago, which is a topic for another lesson. But I really got interested in understanding who I am and what I'm learning and how I'm moving through the world during that session. And there's so many different kinds of tools out there to help us understand ourselves and to answer some of the bigger questions like, why? What makes me me? Why am I like this? Why am I moving through the world like this? And so whether it is our natal charts and astrology or human design or numerology or our soul's blueprint, they're all just tools that help us reflect on aspects of ourself, aspects of how we understand ourselves to be, who we know ourselves to be. So today we're going to chat about all of those things and how they can help us navigate our life. And sometimes they can also introduce challenges that limit us. But first, before we even jump into that, we're going to need a moment of joy. It's a good one this week because I got to move my office outside again yesterday, which for those of you who know me in person is huge. I do so much better when I'm outside. And the weather finally stabilized enough that I've been able to move the work out into nature and set up the furniture out there and get the sunshade up. And I cannot even tell you the joy that brings with it. Yesterday was the first day that I was able to really do it. And I had so much energy and I got so much more done. And my crow friends showed up. They dropped in for a visit. The breeze was blowing. I could smell the salt air. The pine needles were heating up in the sun and it smelled so good. Like that resin snap smell, oh, it reminds me of my childhood because I lived surrounded by woods. But I got all of my plants in the ground last weekend. So I got to talk with them and keep an eye out for butterflies passing through. And it's absolutely my favorite time of year in the Outer Banks. Now, we don't really have spring and fall here. We just have not winter, not yet summer. And then on the flip side, not summer, not yet winter. And those are those little pockets of time that I love the most because it's not oppressively hot. The bugs aren't eating me alive yet. There's that slight breeze to keep things comfortable. It is truly my moment of joy. So I got to sit with the trees and the earth yesterday and work. So it lit me up and I have so much more energy and excitement about what's going on with everything. Isn't it funny how that works? One small shift. You wouldn't think it's very big, just moving outside for the day and it changes everything. So my moment of joy. All right. Now let's talk about why we're here. Soul blueprints, astrology charts, human design. I love it all. I am always fascinated by the information that comes up when I have one of these sessions done. I think as we journey through life, many of us reach these points of introspection where we're not just asking who we are, but we are like wondering why we are the way we are. And sometimes it's because we're at a crossroads and we just need a tool like astrology or human design to get the clarity and the insight we need into our personalities, our traits, our maybe even potential life path, depending on how you read them. We just want a little direction. We just want a little boost. I know in my life, for me anyway, what really draws me to tools like this is usually because I've stumbled upon some agitation or pain point. Like I bumped into something. Because I'm not like out there necessarily reaching for sessions when everything's flowing and going okay. It's usually when I'm getting a bit confused, a tad uncomfortable, that I think, oh, wow, I wonder what's going on. What am I not seeing, or what am I not understanding, or what is happening? Sometimes it's not even like we don't understand or see it. It's just like it's swirling inside of us and we're not quite sure how to define it. And I think that when we are having those feelings of being lost or unfulfilled, or we're repeating negative patterns in maybe home or relationships or career or whatever area of life is coming up, those are the times when we just have this like deep seated desire for understanding one's purpose. We just freaking want someone to tell us why we are the way we are. Seriously, just explain me to myself. And I think that's a universal issue. I think we all struggle with it at some point in our lives. And that's what leads so many of us to seek answers beyond the conventional personality test, hoping that we're understanding our cosmic or soul design or whatever, and that it's going to unlock the guidance that we need in that moment. And it's become a lot more mainstream than it's been in the last 5 or 10 years. You're seeing it everywhere. You're even seeing businesses using astrology in human design. People are using it as a universal language almost as well, where they're saying, okay, I'm this, I'm a generator, or I'm a Scorpio, Taurus rising, or whatnot. And they're using these universal themes, that come from these systems to explain who they are to other people. It's just regardless of who's reading it on the other end. Here's how I explain myself. And there it's a quick way to do it in like a couple words. Now, there are disadvantages to that as well, and we're going to get to that. But first, let's kind of look into these sessions. I like to think of them as keys, that these sessions are keys that help us unlock something that maybe I couldn't see before. Maybe I just need to see it in a different way. I just need to put words to it. But all of these systems sort of have kind of a repeating thing, that they all help us with things, but just in slightly different ways. So many of them will tell you your personality traits. Almost all of them. I'm not going to say all because I don't know every system, but I would say almost all of them really talk about your inherent traits. For astrology, they're using the zodiac signs, what was happening in the sky when you were born. For human design, it's combining elements of astrology, I Ching, Kabbalah, the chakras to create a chart. Numerology is just magic. I don't know how it works. I know that it works. I just don't know how it works. And there's each number has a certain meaning in the way that the numbers combine. I mean, even tarot, you can do it. You can pull your birth cards and all of that to tell you, to explain more about your personality. And so at its very core, it's telling you, okay, this is kind of these traits that you most likely have based on the information that you've given to plug into the chart. I think that they can help us really focus on our growth and our development. So we've plugged the information in, we're getting these traits back, and now we're going beyond the traits and we're like really diving into personal and spiritual growth, trying to understand what our challenges are, what our strengths are, really working on this journey of self-awareness and deeper understanding and growth. So they can tell you those things as well. They can make you just more aware. And then, what happens is then you've got your traits and you've got your challenges and your strengths. And then they become a really powerful tool for reflection, or at least they can become a powerful tool for reflection, depending on how the person is running the session and what you do with that information after. Because they can help you understand why you might react in certain ways in different situations. And it might help you understand how you can find more fulfillment in your daily life, and reflecting on even the challenges or the traits that maybe you weren't so comfortable with can say, okay, I don't maybe want to move through the world like that, even though I tend to, like, when I'm not thinking about things, move through the world like that. I just need to be aware. I just need to have an awareness. Like, so for me, when I got my chart read in astrology, I have so much Scorpio energy in my chart that I come off as a Scorpio. And so I have to be aware of that Scorpio nature. It doesn't define me, but I just have to be aware of it so that I know how I'm moving through the world. I know how I'm relating to other beings, understanding that dynamic, those interpersonal relationships that we have. Someone can say, oh, I'm this and this, and the other person can respond, oh, I'm this and this. And suddenly you get a little bit more insight about how they move through the world. So it can also help us with other people, not just ourselves, when we know what their sign is or what their human design chart says or what their numerology is, right? It can help us with these things. And they do have this sense of like universalness to them. I mean, everyone wants to know who they are, their identity, their purpose. We all have a search for meaning. These core aspects of just being human, I think they resonate with all of us, regardless of where we're from. And so there's this universality that comes with, is that even a word? I don't know. It comes with these charts. It's all of a sudden now we have a common language to communicate with. And there's always an and, isn't there? Oh, duality. And while these insights from these charts and these spiritual tools can be incredibly empowering, and they can provide us with what we're looking for to a certain extent, they do come with their own set of challenges. There are things that we need to be aware of when we go to have these things done for ourselves. And I think one major concern that I see across the board, and I'm going to expand this to mediumship readings, tarot readings, whatever it is the potential for dependency. Any kind of reading you get, any kind of intuitive session, there's always the potential for dependency, where some people may begin to rely too heavily on their charts or their designs, and then they let the tool dictate all of their choices and interactions, which can really stifle your personal growth and make you kind of be blind to your own free will. Basically, these blueprints can put you into a box, a very custom designed box, but a box nonetheless. And that really limits how many people move through the world. Not everyone, but it has that potential. It is something that we need to be aware of. And y'all, I cannot tell you, I love astrology. I love human design. This is not bashing this. I am talking about how people use the information once they get it. Okay. I just want to be really clear on that. Because how many times have you been out there in social media land and you're looking in the comments, you're looking in the whatever, and you see, well, I'm fill in the blank, whatever it is. I'm so da 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 da. Just a blanket statement. Now, I 100% joke around about all the Scorpio energy I have in my astrology chart, and it's a lot, y'all. But I avoid using it as an excuse, especially an excuse to not show up fully in the world. And yes, sometimes my Scorpio energy bites me in the ass, but I do know myself. And I know that as long as I keep up with the self-awareness work, I don't have to fall into the shadow side of that energy. Because I know that at my essence, I am more than my chart or my blueprint or my design or whatever. I am a unique expression of a soul rocking it out right now as a human being. And that's unchartable, if that's even a word. That's unchartable. And so we need to be really aware that we're not using these as a tool to bypass. Well, I'm a empath. You hear that a lot. And I just am too sensitive, or I can't be around people, or whatever. I'm I don't know, find something. And so I can't. No. You may be a fill in the blank, but it's all about how you navigate it. It's all about how you navigate it and how you want to work with that energy in your life. So when you're doing this, be really aware that you don't fall into dependency and be aware that you're not using it as a tool to bypass. Another risk is the misinterpretation of information. So astrology, human design, soul blueprints are all complex systems that require not just the knowledge of how they work, but I think that there's something that comes in, almost an intuition or wisdom, experience, years of experience, to interpret them in a way that is supported. I'm not even going to say correctly, because I think there's so many different ways to interpret the same information, but just in a way that's supportive to the human being that is sitting across from you. And at the end of the day, that's all we are. We're all just human. And sometimes the reader, or sometimes us, which a lot of the times I feel like it's mostly us, not the reader, can misinterpret the information that's being shared or the information contained in our charts. And it can lead us into more confusion, and it might even reinforce negative patterns rather than helping us to break them. So when having your chart or your design or whatever you want read, really make sure you have someone that you trust who has experience, maybe a referral, something like that, do your reading for you. You need to gel, you need to mesh, you need to speak the same language as the person who is reading for you or who's doing your chart for you so that you both can get the most out of your time together. And I don't want to forget this too. I don't want to overlook that there's this inclusivity aspect. So while these tools offer universal themes, how we interpret them can sometimes reflect our own cultural biases. And it is crucial to approach these systems with an open mind, with an awareness of our perspectives, and be really ready to integrate diverse viewpoints to truly benefit from their wisdom. And this is for any type of reading, tarot, mediumship, astrology, it doesn't matter. It is impossible to completely get rid of our filters as readers, but I think the more we know ourselves, the easier it is to identify when our filter or our cultural bias kicks in. As someone who was a reader for many, many years, I still do readings, just not in public anymore. And as someone who has had many readings over the years, that filter and that cultural bias, y'all, that kicks in more than you think it does. And so while we are using these tools to understand ourselves, right, and to become more aware, sometimes we become a little less aware in other aspects. So it's just something to think about. It's just something, to ponder as you figure out how we're going to use these tools responsibly. How are we going to embrace the insights that are coming through while staying grounded in what we know to be true about ourselves and our journey? These readings, these sessions, they should be guides. They should not be dictators of our life story. So I encourage you to think about your own experiences with spiritual tools like this. How have they helped you find clarity? Have you ever felt pigeonholed by a reading or a design? How do you balance these insights gained with your personal intuition and your own decision-making free will qualities? These are things that need to be pondered before you ever request a chart reading. So as we wrap up today's episode, remember that the journey of self-awareness, and it is a journey, is going to be deeply personal and unique to each one of us. And we're all continuously evolving all the time. So let's reflect on our question for this episode. And I would love it if you would send me an email, a DM, find me in the comments in social media land, and let me know, how can you use tools like astrology and human design as guides rather than absolute answers? Like, how do you do that for yourself? And how do you integrate them into a balanced view of your life and personal growth story? So I'll say that again. How can you use tools like astrology and human design as a guidance system rather than an absolute, right? How are you integrating that information into your life? I would love to know how you do it, because I think there's a million ways. There's a million ways to do it, and they're all going to look different for each one of us. If you found today's conversation helpful, I would love it if you would consider diving deeper and joining the Patreon community. I've got a lot of exclusive videos and extended podcast episodes happening over there. Lots of fun things. And share this episode with a friend who might be spiritually curious and wondering these things as well. I think anytime that we can extend the conversation, it becomes more dynamic, it becomes more alive, and infinitely becomes better. Thank you so much for joining Reclaiming Our Spirit this week. I'm loving exploring these deep topics with you, and I can't wait to connect with you on the next episode. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Reclaiming Our Spirit. To find out how I can help you reclaim your spirit, reach out to me at www.jessicapaschke.com. Leave me a message, and I just may share how you reclaimed your spirit in the next episode.